Hello, and welcome to the special CBTV interview with Dennis Williams. Dennis is an investment advisor representative with Brookstone Capital Management, who specializes in working with pre-retirees and retirees since 2007. In addition, he is on the board of his local NAFA professional organization, and he serves as contemporary worship leader in the villages. Dennis, welcome back to CBTV one more time.
Good to see you again, Matt. Thank you.
Good to have you here. I want to talk in this session with you about Americans who have a company-sponsored retirement plan. Many Americans today, even though they might not have a pension, they have contributed money into a 401k or a 403b or some other type of company-sponsored program. So, what are some options they have with these accounts once they retire?
They actually have several options now. They can actually leave it with the company, and the company will have some different options for them, and there are few little choices, or they can move it to something else, more of an IRA type of account, a personal IRA, individual IRA.
Okay, so they can, it's called a rollover?
That's correct.
They can roll the money?
Rollover. It rolls over to another company or another manager, another organization that will manage those funds for them. And they have the choice as to where they would like those funds to go and be managed.
And I hear a lot of people ask us this question, am I going to have to pay taxes on that? If I take the money out of my 401k or 403b, am I going to have to pay taxes on that transfer? And the answer is?
That's a very good question, and one that we need to be very careful of, because it is possible, if they don't do it properly, that they would have to pay taxes on the whole lump sum.
Wow.
And I don't think anybody would want to do that. But done properly, and the IRS has set up ways in order to do that properly, the taxes would not be due on those funds until they actually basically put it in their checking account.
Okay, because as I have heard, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. So once a transfer is made, if it's improper, the former employee can't say, oh, I want to put it back where it was and not pay the tax. Once it's gone forever. Is that correct?
That is correct, and the IRS is unforgiving.
Yeah. We know that they don't bend very well, do they?
They do not. They've got their rules, and that's what we have to abide by.
Okay. All right, well, let's talk about that now. Then, Americans who do have a 401k or 403b or company-sponsored retirement plan, do you recommend that they roll over that into an independent individual retirement account of their own, and if so, why?
Many times it is better to roll it into an individual IRA, roll it over for control. I have sat down with clients, we've looked at what their company offered, and quite honestly, the company's offered something very, very good. And I would tell them, leave the money there, if they're able, leave a portion of the funds there for this, because this is going to accomplish this. And I can't do that. I would love to be able to, but I'm just not quite able to give you what they're going to. So leave it there. But most of the time, that's not the case. And when they leave it there with their company, then they kind of give up control. Most people like to be able to make changes and choices in the future. Nobody knows what the future is going to bring. So if they lock themselves in by leaving it with their company, there's nothing much that they can do down the road to transition to something different. When their life changes, their circumstances, their needs change. So moving it to an individual IRA gives them control, gives them more access, and then gives them a lot more choices and options.
That's a good point, because the employer may have only so many different type of index funds or stocks or bonds they can put that money into, but the individual independent marketplace, which you're involved in, has probably thousands of choices out there.
That's right. As an independent insurance advisor, as well as an investment advisor representative, it's the whole world out there. There's almost nothing that I don't have access to. So we can sit down and find out what their goals are, and then find what best fits their unique situation.
So you're not tied to one particular investment or insurance company or plan. You are completely independent to choose any option out there that you think is best for the client?
That's correct. The client and I spend a lot of time together initially. I'm learning about them. I'm learning about their risk tolerance. I'm learning about their income needs and their income goals. I'm learning about what they want to do in retirement. And then we talk about how can we best fund those desires and those needs, and which particular product's going to be best for them with all those different pieces of the puzzle put in there.
Yeah. Well, for most Americans, people that worked for the same company perhaps for 25, 40, 50 years, this is a big step for them. You know, transferring out that 401k, 403b retirement account somewhere independent. So they need some good counsel, don't they?
That's right. They do need counsel, and it's tough. I mean, they've given a lot of years to this company. We don't see that as much as we used to, but there are still people that have been with the company 30 or 40 years. Yeah. And it's difficult. The company's taking care of them. They've been good to them. And so there's a little bit of commitment to that organization, and understandably so. Yeah. But, you know, they've got to decide and choose, you know, this is my retirement. This has got to last me for a long time, and I need to be confident and know that this program, this plan is going to work for me.
Well, that's a very good comparison there, or parallel, that they may have an emotional tie to the company. The company is very good to them, kept them employed, paid them overtime, maybe, you know, vacations or bonus money at the holidays. But now this money has to be sure it lasts at least as long as they do, and hopefully a lot further. And so they have to think independently of how they feel emotionally about the company and decide, are there better options outside the company once I retire that can help me make my money or allow it to work harder for me?
Right.
Okay. So do people, let me ask you this now, let's say you have an employee who isn't retired yet, but they would like to diversify rather than keeping their money with the company. Do they have to wait until they retire to roll over any part of their retirement plan?
You know, Matt, that used to be true almost across the board, where people had to wait until the day of retirement to do something with their funds. And that still sometimes is true. I've recently sat down with clients that retired from an organization, and they had to wait. They had 401k money, they had pension money, and they had the option on the day of retirement to make that rollover into the individual IRA. But nowadays, people after usually around age 50, certainly by 55, 59, they can take what they call an in-service rollover, in-service withdrawal, and move part of those funds over and start independently managing and growing those funds through many, many other options.
So that just changed in the last couple of years or a few years, this in-service withdrawal?
It's really happened in the last few years. It's becoming more and more popular. We see more and more companies allowing that today than we did even 2 or 3 years ago.
Well, that's good. So it gives the employee an opportunity to diversify before they retire.
That's right.
And as we all know, no American should put the majority or a significant amount of their 401k in company stock, in case the company ends up like MCI or Enron, or the list just goes kind of on and on. So it's important that they may love the company but not put too much percentage-wise of their 401k in company stock. Is that how you see it as well?
I do, Matt. Let me give you this. I love steak, but I couldn't eat steak every meal of the day. So by diversifying, that gives you a nice change of palate there.
Yeah. And
diversification is always going to be good. It's going to protect at least most of your funds usually. But if you got everything in one thing, you're on that one piece of steak all the time, then it's going to get to tasting bad for one thing, but then, you know, steak is just not going to always cut it.
Yep.
And so by diversifying, putting their retirement resources into multiple type accounts, that really spreads out the risk and spreads out the growth potential as well.
Yeah. Got to have some chicken, some turkey, some fish in there, and vegetables, right?
Vegetables
for
are good.
A balanced diet.
That's right. My doctor says eat lots of broccoli.
Eat as many greens as you can.
That's
I've
right.
heard that
Green
before
vegetables.
too. That's right. Well, as kind of a final thought, you know, retirement accounts like these and traditional IRAs many times end up becoming what I like to refer to as a tax time bomb. In other words, it all becomes completely taxable at the time you either take withdrawals, the money taking out become taxable, or the whole thing becomes taxable if you die and leave it to your heirs. So how do you help your clients to reduce those taxes or reduce the severity of that tax time bomb once they leave it to the next generation, perhaps?
Good question, Matt, and it boils down to a matter of planning. Sitting down and having a plan. And the plan can be changed as time goes by, but there are many options out there. Sometimes you could take your monies, roll it over into a Roth IRA, or maybe part of it if it's appropriate. It's not always appropriate. Yeah. You've got to weigh in the balance there which makes the most sense. The thing with these qualified accounts, they're called, or basically they're monies that taxes have not been paid, sooner or later Uncle Sam is going to come with his hand out. At a certain age, they're going to force you, or they're going to penalize you heavily. So it's a matter of planning. So a lot of times I'll sit down with my clients and they've got IRA monies. They really don't perhaps need it to live on, but their income is low. Maybe they have everything, they have no debt, and they have really minimal living expenses. And so the money is just sitting there, they don't need it. So we start looking at how can we minimize the taxes. We're going to have to pay taxes, but let's make it as minimal as possible. Another thing is there are many people that believe taxes are going to increase in the future. And why not take advantage? We're in the lowest income, the lowest tax bracket that the country has ever seen. And many people believe, given the condition of our country's finances, that taxes are going to have to increase somewhere down the road. So let's take advantage of the minimal amount. Protect that big tax burden on your children down the road. There's also some planning that they would be able to spread that out over their lifetime in order to make it smaller bites in paying that taxes and paying that tax. So it's a matter of planning.
Okay, but the good news is that it can be reduced, if not eliminated. You said eventually you have to pay Uncle Sam his part, but there's ways to reduce that amount that can benefit the owner as well as the beneficiaries.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. And by the way, what is most of my clients, and probably yours, with, as you said, qualified funds, those money you put into a 401k or 403b or IRA, that money's not been taxed. So when it accumulates with interest, the entire amount hasn't been taxed. And most of my clients, probably yours, don't need any of it when they're retired. They have enough other income coming in. But Uncle Sam forces them to take that RMD, that required minimum distribution. Ever wonder what's going on with the age 70 and a half?
It seems the government has to come with some really funny way of figuring things out. 70 and a half. You have to start April 1st, a year after you turn 70 and a half. Now, why make it so complicated? But, it's a government operation. So, we sit down with the client, and I recommend to them, yes, you have January through April 1st of that particular year, but you have to be careful because you've got to take another one before that year's over. So I usually recommend, not always, but I usually recommend go ahead and take it the year you turn 70, essentially. Not all the time. It depends on when your birthday falls. Go ahead and take it at that year, and then you won't have a double dip and really have to maybe jump you up in another income bracket, maybe have to pay some taxes on your Social Security.
Yeah, I always got a kick out of that. Why not 70 years of age or 71? What is with the 70 and a half and the April 1st of the following year? That's the, thank goodness we have people like you that help things that are complicated sound simple. So Dennis, again, welcome, and thank you for your wise words on financial issues today at CBTV.
Thank you, Matt. It's always good to be here.
Our pleasure. For more information about Dennis Williams or his financial services practice, contact him at 352-245-6493 or visit him on the web at www.williamsuncoast.com.